in our top 25 for point guards. We have a guy who Boston fans are going to hate us. Kemba Walker coming in at number 16. That's 1-6 for Kemba Walker.
Yeah, I mean, as a Boston fan, it
Woo!
hurts, but not only as a Boston fan, it hurts. As a Kemba Walker fan, it hurts. Where even
I
if you're
know.
one of my favorite players to go by, because he is just such a pure winner. Going back to the UConn Huskies, winning that tournament for them basically on his own. He's a guy who knows how to do everything in the game of basketball. Like Conley, one of the lowest in terms of turnovers for point guards. Their big thing for me in terms of having him even outside the top 10, it's just his health. It's just he's not going to start the year. He obviously had some injuries last year that are lingering now, and they really stuck with him the whole season. He's going to come back, they're hoping sometime in January, which I know might not seem that long, but who knows? It could be February. He's still not back. With a position that's so deep, if you're only playing 40 games, I can't put you ahead of the other guys on here. They're honestly that good, and that's all it came down to for me.
Yeah, and his injuries are his knees. He's a player who's played with a lot of explosiveness his whole career. He's
Hmm.
not exactly the most efficient player, not the best shooter in the league, but he's come across and he's been a leader of his team. He's a guy who, in his prime, can put up 25 points per game easily and do it any given night and be that player that every team needs a star. I read something back about a month after the bubble ended it was an article out of one of the Boston newspapers, and it was one of these insiders for the Celtics. This article didn't make national news, but it made Boston news, and it was essentially talking about a lingering knee injury in Kemba Walker, and how Boston was trying to trade Kemba Walker and bring in another point guard. At the time, and all the Boston fans were like, no, Kemba's shit. Can't trade him away. And this person was like, well, he got a lingering injury that it's going to go into next season. It's going to be a major part of his explosiveness. And then 2 months later, it comes out that he's going to miss time. Injury to me is bigger than what they're saying.
Hmm.
And even Kemba in Boston last year wasn't the same Kemba that he was in Charlotte. I know that they didn't need him to be because Tatum and Brown's team, they really took a major step, which is amazing for Boston. In fact, you can have Kemba as your third best player, but he's right now, unless you can show us that these injuries don't affect him throughout the season, especially to end the year in the playoffs, I just don't see him in the top 10 point guard role as I seen him last year, even.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just really purely just a matter of the injuries because even if we look at
Yep.
last season's numbers, he was still one of the better point guards in terms of
Oh,
overall. I mean, it's not like his overall production. He's never been a guy who's put up more than I think over 22 and a half per game. So it's a, he,
took
last
25 and a half the year before.
so yeah, sorry. So he had the 1 year of that, but before that, he was more like a 22, 23 for his career.
Three.
He's a
Yeah.
19.9 guy, obviously factoring rookie seasons and such. But with that, he was still eighth in points for point guards. He had 20.84, which isn't off for him. He had 4.8 assists, but I'd say is a bit down. But he was still tied for fifth in blocks among point guards. And like I said, he had the least amount of turnovers for actually any point guard who played more than 30 minutes. Conley actually played 29, so he just missed that regard. And he also he had the least amount of personal fouls for any starter as well for point guard. So he's a very, very disciplined player. Third best turnover ratio for starters, 38% from three. Doesn't do a lot wrong. I just feel like I said, it is the injuries. And like you said, too, a fact of he is the third guy there. I wouldn't be shocked if we see a year where Kemba Walker, like I said, maybe only plays in 40 games or so, and he only puts up like 18.5 and whatever his rebounds are.
As long as he's healthy by the playoffs, that's all they really need him for, right?
Exactly. So that's just why his ranking falls in this year's list. We know how good of a player he can be, but I agree that the injuries are a major cause for concern, and that's why even myself, as a Celtics and Kemba Walker fan, I just couldn't put him ahead of some of the guys here, as hard as there is to say.
Beantown, come fight us. We agree he's still a great player, but there's just really a lot of really good players that have made the jump in recent years. And like last year, two of our top 10 players even play. Three of our top 10 players didn't even play last year because of injuries. So
Yep.
they're back now, and other players in the meantime have gotten even better. That's the only reason Kemba doesn't make it. It's not that he's a bad player. I think he'll still stay in the top 20 for the rest of his career. But I just don't see him putting up that 25 points per game again. And that's really what it takes to unless you're going to be an all-star on defense, you need to put up more than just 20 points per game to crack our top 50.
Definitely.
It's funny how we say that because the next guy